Hashtag the 5 worst hyperinflations in history. Imagine waking up one morning and realizing that everything you've worked for has vanished. Yesterday, your savings could have bought you a house. Today, they won't even buy a loaf of bread. Your paycheck loses value before you have the chance to spend it. People aren't carrying wallets anymore, they're pushing wheelbarrows full of cash just to buy groceries. It sounds like something out of a dystopian movie. But it isn't. This is hyperinflation, and throughout history, it has devastated nations far wealthier and more powerful than most people realize. We like to believe that money is stable. That the numbers in our bank accounts represent something permanent. But history tells a very different story. When money fails, it isn't just currencies that collapse. Savings disappear. Businesses shut down. Families lose everything they've spent decades building. Governments fall. And entire societies begin to unravel. In this video, we're going to explore 5 of the worst hyperinflation disasters ever recorded. 5 different countries. 5 different eras. 5 remarkably similar stories. Because despite their differences, every one of these crises followed the same pattern. A government faced an economic emergency. It searched for an easy solution. More money was created. Confidence slowly began to fade. And once trust was gone, the entire financial system collapsed with it. As we go through these stories, pay close attention to that pattern. Hyperinflation rarely begins with panic. It starts quietly. At first, prices rise a little faster than expected. Then a little faster still. Most people assume things will return to normal. By the time they realize they won't, it's already too late. Hashtag Germany, the Weimar Republic, 1923. Our first stop is Germany. In the aftermath of the First World War, the country was in ruins. The Treaty of Versailles imposed reparations totaling 132 billion gold marks, a burden so enormous that many economists believed it was practically impossible to repay. Germany's economy was already struggling. Industrial production had collapsed. Political unrest was everywhere. And government finances were deteriorating by the day. Faced with mounting obligations, policymakers turned to what seemed like the easiest solution. They printed more money. At first, the effects weren't dramatic. Prices rose, but life continued. Then inflation accelerated. Weeks later, it became impossible to ignore. Prices doubled. Then doubled again. Soon, they were rising by the hour. By November 1923, the German mark had become virtually worthless. A single loaf of bread could cost 200 billion marks. Workers demanded to be paid several times a day because their wages lost value between morning and evening. People rushed from factories straight to the shops before prices increased again. Families burned stacks of banknotes in their stoves because the cash was cheaper than firewood. Children played with bundles of currency as if they were toys. For Germany's middle class, decades of careful saving disappeared almost overnight. But the greatest loss wasn't financial. It was psychological. Money only works because people believe it has value. The moment that belief disappears, the entire economy begins to break apart. Contracts become meaningless. Savings become worthless. Businesses struggle to plan. Trade slows. Trust evaporates. The damage extended far beyond economics. The chaos and hardship of the early 1920s fueled widespread political anger and instability, creating conditions that extremist movements later exploited. A decade later, Adolf Hitler rose to power in a Germany still deeply scarred by economic trauma. Hyperinflation didn't cause that outcome on its own, but it helped create an environment where radical promises became dangerously appealing.